February 15th, 1476, the Sava River, southern frontier of Hungary. A king stands in a small boat, disguised as a common soldier, floating dangerously close to an enemy fortress. Arrows and musket fire rain down around him. His commanders beg him to retreat. He refuses. This is King Matthias Corvinus of Hungary, and in this moment, he's risking everything: his life, his army, his kingdom, on a single fortress most people have never heard of: the fortress of Šabac. This is the story of Hungary's first offensive strike against the Ottoman Empire, the battle that changed the psychology of an entire continent. To understand why this matters, we need to go back 23 years. Constantinople falls to Sultan Mehmed II. The Byzantine Empire, Rome's last remnant, is gone. Europe is terrified. The Ottomans aren't just raiding anymore, they're conquering, permanently. By 1456, Mehmed's armies reach Belgrade, the gateway to Central Europe. If Belgrade falls, Hungary falls. If Hungary falls, Vienna is next. Against impossible odds, Hungarian commander John Hunyadi defeats the Ottoman siege. Church bells ring across Europe for days. It's a miracle. But John Hunyadi dies of plague just weeks later. His 15-year-old son, Matthias, inherits a kingdom in crisis. For the next 15 years, Hungary fights a brutal defensive war. Ottoman raiders pour across the border, villages burn, thousands are enslaved. The frontier becomes a killing ground. Then, in 1471, the Ottomans make a strategic move that changes everything. They build a new fortress. The location is Zaslan, on the southern bank of the Sava River, 50 kilometers west of Belgrade, deep in Ottoman-controlled Serbia. The Ottoman Pasha of Smederevo, Isa Beg Ishaković, constructs a fortress here in 1471. He names it Bogur Delen, Turkish for side striker. The name is deliberate. From Šabac, Ottoman raiders can strike sideways into Hungarian territory, into Slavonia, into the Banate of Seremség. The fortress isn't just defensive, it's offensive base. Šabac is built from earth and timber, reinforced with palisades. 8 wooden towers ring the walls. Underground barracks house the garrison, safe from cannon fire. The Sava River and surrounding marshland make it nearly impregnable. It's not the largest Ottoman fortress, but it's perfectly positioned, a dagger pointed at Hungary's heart. For King Matthias Corvinus, this is unacceptable. Since becoming king at age 14 in 1458, Matthias has transformed Hungary. He's created one of Europe's first professional standing army, the Black Army, 28,000 mercenaries at its peak. Czechs, Germans, Poles, Hungarians, paid directly by the crown, loyal only to him. But he knows something crucial. For 2 decades, Europe has been retreating. Every battle has been about survival. If he can take Šabac, if he can prove Ottoman expansion can be reversed, it changes everything. The Sultan's Pasha of Smederevo, Ali, invades Hungary and sacks Oradea, one of the kingdom's richest cities. Thousands are enslaved. The Hungarian people are outraged. Matthias sees his opportunity. In January 1475, his ally Stefan the Great of Moldavia defeats a massive Ottoman army at the Battle of Vaslui. The Ottomans are distracted, vulnerable. Matthias makes his decision. Hungary will strike first. The target, Šabac. In autumn 1475, Matthias begins assembling his forces. This isn't a raid, this is a full-scale siege. He summons the Black Army, his best Hungarian, Sekli, German, and Czech mercenaries. Serbian auxiliary troops join them. Modern estimates put his force at 10,000 to 15,000 men. But here's the gamble. If the Sultan Mehmed II decides to intervene with his main army, the Hungarians could be annihilated. If they lose, Hungary's defenses are shattered. Matthias knows this, but Mehmed is campaigning in Anatolia. The timing is perfect. The Hungarian army moves slowly south. Matthias himself leads from the front. October 25, 1475, the army reaches Szeged. November 2nd, they're in Tolna. November 5th, Mohacs. On November 18th, a letter from the army reports that the king's ship has joined a massive fleet heading down the Danube. 330 vessels, riverboats, transports, armed galleys. Matthias is using the rivers, the Danube and Sava, as highways, moving thousands of troops and siege equipment by water. It's faster, more efficient, and it gives him control of Ottoman supply routes. By late November, the Hungarian army reaches Šabac. The fortress waits across the river. The siege begins.
The garrison numbers between 1,200 and 2,000 Ottoman troops. They're experienced, well-supplied, and they've fought Hungarians before. But they've never faced this. Matthias surrounds the fortress. He brings up heavy siege artillery, Hungarian bombards forged in European foundries. He stations 16 armed galleys on the Sava River to bombard the walls from the water. But there's a problem. The Sava River surrounds most of the fortress. Hungarian troops can't get close enough to a direct assault. Matthias comes up with a solution. He orders his engineers to build a small wooden fort on the river itself. It's reinforced with chains, protected by soldiers with firearms. From this floating fortress, Hungarian troops can fire directly into Šabac while covering the approach of assault forces. At the southern end of the fortress, the only side accessible by land, Matthias has trenches dug. He deploys massive siege engines, trebuchets, more bombards. Day after day, stone shot slams into Šabac's earthen walls. Inside the fortress, the defenders hold. They fire back with arrows, muskets, anything they have, but they're outnumbered and no relief force is coming. Then the weather turns. Bad storms hinder the river fleet's artillery. The siege drags on. Days become weeks. Meanwhile, Matthias does something extraordinary and reckless. According to his royal historian Antonio Bonfini, and confirmed in a letter to the Duke of Milan, the king disguises himself as a common soldier and takes a small boat out onto the river. He wants to scout the fortress walls himself from close range. Ottoman soldiers fire down on the boat, arrows, muskets. The king barely escapes. His commanders are furious, but Matthias understands something his enemies don't. Leadership isn't just about giving orders. It's about being seen, about sharing the danger. By early February 1476, after 33 days of continuous bombardment, Šabac's walls are crumbling. The defenders are exhausted. Supplies are running low. Matthias orders the final assault. Hungarian infantry pour through the breaches. The fighting is brutal, room to room, hand to hand. But the outcome is inevitable. On February 15, 1476, the fortress falls. The Hungarian banner rises over Šabac. The garrison, what's left of it, surrenders. 700 Ottoman soldiers are taken prisoner. Hungarian losses are 200 men. One of Matthias's most distinguished commanders, František Haag, a Czech mercenary, is killed in the final assault. He's buried with full honors in Székesfehérvár Cathedral. As the Hungarians take control, word reaches them. An Ottoman relief army was marching to Šabac, but when they heard the fortress had fallen, they turned back. Matthias makes a critical decision. He doesn't burn the fortress. He doesn't abandon it. He keeps it. Engineers immediately begin repairs. The walls are reinforced, expanded. A Hungarian garrison moves in. Šabac, built as an Ottoman offensive base, becomes a Hungarian defensive stronghold. For the first time in decades, a major Ottoman fortress has been captured and held. News spreads across Europe like wildfire. In Vienna, Rome, Venice, people are stunned. The Ottomans, who seemed unstoppable, have been pushed back. It's not just a military victory, it's psychological warfare. Matthias commissions songs, letters to the Pope, poems celebrating the victory. The oldest surviving Hungarian historical song, a 150-line epic, was written during this siege. It's now preserved in the National Széchenyi Library. The message is clear. Hungary isn't just surviving, it's winning. But Matthias knows this is just the beginning. Šabac is one fortress. The Ottoman Empire is still the most powerful military force on earth. For the next few years, Matthias fortifies the entire southern frontier. More forts, more troops, more riverine defenses. He turns the Hungarian frontier into a defensive network the Ottomans can't easily crack. And it works. For decades. In 1492, when the Ottomans tried to recapture Šabac, the Hungarian garrison, now under the command of General Paul Knizi, successfully defends it. But then, Matthias dies in 1490. The Hungarian Diet, the nobles, refuse to fund the Black Army. They cut taxes 70 to 80%. The army disbands. The fortresses fall into disrepair. In 1421, Sultan Suleiman the Magnificent launches a new campaign. He takes Šabac in just 15 days, then Belgrade. 5 years later, at the Battle of Mohacs, the Ottoman army destroys the Hungarian kingdom. King Louis II drowns fleeing the battlefield. More was lost at Mohacs, but the seeds of that loss were planted the day Hungary disbanded the Black Army. So, what's the lesson of Šabac? Here's the brutal truth. Matthias Corvinus won a war, but Hungary lost the peace. In 1476, Šabac proved that Ottoman expansion could be reversed, that with the right leadership, the right army, and the right moment, Europe could push back. Matthias understood something fundamental. War isn't just about battles. It's about momentum. It's about morale. It's about making your enemies believe defeat is possible. For a brief, brilliant moment, he succeeded. But standing armies cost money. Professional soldiers demand payment. And the Hungarian nobles, who had chafed under Matthias's heavy taxes for decades, chose tax relief over national defense. 4 years after Matthias died, the Black Army was gone. The strongest military force in Christendom, disbanded. And 45 years after Šabac, Hungary fell. Matthias Corvinus spent his life building something remarkable, a kingdom that could stand against the most powerful empire on earth. He died thinking his son would continue his work. Instead, the nobles tore it all down. That's the real tragedy of Šabac. Not that it eventually fell, but that when it did, there was no Matthias Corvinus to take it back. When you win a battle but lose the will to keep fighting, when you choose comfort over vigilance, history doesn't remember your victories. It remembers how you fell. More was lost at Mohacs, but the seeds of that loss were planted the day Hungary disbanded the Black Army.